Welcome to our second installment of our beginner HIIT 3 workout. So it's beginner HIIT 3.2 today. We've got a brand new series of 3 exercises in that high intensity interval pattern. And as well, if you recall what happens, the very last set of exercises you do, we go back to last week's exercises to see if we can beat our time last week, which I believe was 1 minute and 12 seconds. So let's get started into our warm-up. Just a quick reminder, if you don't have access to a pull-up station, which is what the third exercise will always be in these movements, some type of pull-up variation, you can do your posture variation. So that is, while I'm doing the pull-ups, you can do your posture hold, which is in a bit of a squat position, arms at 90 degrees, pushing up against the wall. If you want to make it a little bit more intense, and keep that high intensity interval training part going, hold for 10 seconds, and then with a chair nearby, do a modified burpee. So with the chair, it allows you to do a burpee at a beginner level, keeping that high intensity going. So those are your options. Let's get started into our warm-up. Again, with these warm-ups, they're a little bit shorter than I would recommend, so if you feel you need a longer warm-up, please go to my videos. I do have a beginner active warm-up. I would recommend doing that prior to doing this workout, especially as a beginner. You want to give yourself lots of warm-up time. Just take it to a nice, easy pretend skip, either slow or fast, depending on how your body's feeling today. So here's a nice slow pace that I'm doing right now. If you want to step it up a little bit, if your joints are feeling okay, then you can go a little bit faster. I'll stick with a nice slow pace, because usually what happens is people follow what they see, regardless of what they feel is right for them. Let's go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And just take it into a little bit of a back lunge. Back knee is on the ground. Push your hips forward so you feel a little bit of a stretch in this back hip. Lift your hands up into the air and release. Lift, so as you do that lift, you should feel a little bit of an increased stretch in your back hip. If you need to take a second and put a little bit more padding underneath that back knee, go ahead and do so. And now put your hands on the ground, keep your hand or your chest close to your thigh, and just gently rock back and then rock forward. Rock back and rock forward. Now take a second, bring your back knee back just a couple of inches, and again rock back and rock forward. You should find with that little drop back of the knee, you're just in a slightly better position. If you want to feel more of a stretch, you more actively pull that toe towards your face as you come backwards. Take your hands on the inside, switch legs. So right leg comes forward, shift your hips forward so that you feel a little bit of a stretch in that back thigh, and lift your hands up and lower down. Lift and lower. Lift and lower. So you should be feeling a stretch in the back thigh here. 3 more. 2, last one. And get ready to place the hands on the side of the leg, chest on the thigh. Shift the hips back and forward. Shift the hips back and forward. Now take a second, bring that back knee back just a couple of inches and repeat with the shift forward and back. I'm really reaching my hips back, and I'm lifting that toe, and I'm keeping my chest close to my thigh so I get a nice stretch in that hamstring. Last one here, and swing the leg around, tuck the toes under, drop the heels down, drop the head, lift the hips up, slowly round up one vertebrae at a time, roll the shoulders back, and let's do another couple of those little skips. Up, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's go into a little easy side-to-side skier. If you want to pick up the pace a little bit, you can. This is not the interval workout yet. Just continuing to slowly warm up the body. 5 more. 3, 2, last one. Okay, over to your wall. Fingertips against the wall. I want you to cross one ankle over top of the knee. You can either have both hands against the wall or just one for balance, whatever feels comfortable. And you're going to go 5 little wall balance glute stretches. Last one here. And if you do this with both hands, this is what it would look like. Now my right leg is crossing over and I'm pushing my hips back. Notice my back stays relatively flat and I'm not really rounding through my back. 2 more. Last one. Okay, shake it out. We're going to get right into it. So again, relatively quick warm-up. If you need a longer warm-up, please go back to my other videos and do a longer warm-up before you get into it. First movement today, we're doing 30 jump squats. So just a quick review before we get into the jumps. When you're doing a squat, you want your feet about hip width or slightly wider. As you squat down, your toes stay ahead, you're pushing your knees out. Now, the depth you go, the deeper you go, the more challenging it is. So go what you're comfortable with. Do not try to jump with a deep squat unless you can perform a good deep squat with no jump. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to go almost 90 degrees, maybe just a little bit higher. If you can go deeper, great, go for it. If you can't quite go that depth and you just want to stay with the shallow jump, that's fine too. Please go at your own level. All right, I have to do a timer first because we need a benchmark for next week. So we're going to time this week's, use that for next week's. Okay, so here we go. First set of our HIIT 3.2 new exercises, starting with our squat jumps. We're going for 30. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Don't let those knees collapse. Bum is pushing back, using your arms as you see comfortable. Don't let your knees go in front of those toes. Halfway there. Keep it going. 1, 2. I find sometimes if you get fatigued, if you count in 5s, it helps. So we've only got 10 to go. 2 more sets of 5. 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 to go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Legs are burning. 5. Very good. Shake it out. Okay, into our new push-up variation. So we've got a total of 20 push-ups. We're going to go from the knees again. But once we've done a push-up, you're going to just try to drive the knee in a little froggy position up to the side. You feel your hips working a little bit here. And then it works the core a little bit because as it throws you off balance to have one knee lifted. Keep your hips shifted forward, but not sagging. Keep drawing that belly button up and in, going as deep in that push-up as you feel comfortable. Halfway. This push-up does take a little bit longer, but that's fine. You might need the break. Feel free to add in more breaks if you need to. How are we doing? We've got 4 more to go. 1, 2, 2 to go. 3, 4. Okay, now we've got 20 pull-ups or your posture burpee variation. So last week what we did is we had an incline pull-up starting relatively at a high angle. So about here we did our full pull-ups. For this week what I want you to do is you're going to walk your feet forward. We're still doing 20, but you're going to start a little bit lower, maybe almost in a 90-degree position, close to that. We're going to do 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Walk up a little bit higher. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Walk up just a touch higher. 1, 2. See if we can do the last 10 here. 4. Squeeze those shoulder blades. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And there we are, 2 minutes and 47 seconds to complete that whole interval. So now what I want you to do is I want you to go and get yourself a drink of water, and then I want you to repeat that new series of interval exercises somewhere between another 1 to 3 times. Once you've done that, come back to the video, and in a second, I'm going to go back to last week's HIIT 3.1 exercises, and we're going to see if we can beat last week's time. I think 2 minutes and 12 seconds, okay? So go ahead and do this week's new exercises, and then come back with me in just a second, and then we'll do our cool down. Okay, so we're back. Let's see if we can do last week's exercises at a quicker pace. So 2 minutes and 12 seconds is what we're aiming for. So last week what we did is back lunge, knee drive, 20 per leg. Here we go. So a little back lunge into a knee drive. Doesn't have to be super deep. 3, 4, 5. Drive those arms. 6, 7, 8. Aiming to beat 2 minutes and 12 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. Good job. 3. Don't let that knee collapse. 2 and 1. Right into the other side. Trying not to stop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Don't forget, you can count in 5s. If you're finding 20 a daunting number, we've only got 10 to go. That's 2 sets of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 to go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 20 push-ups from the knees. So make sure you're in a good position, pushing out of the heels and the hands slightly, core in nice and tight. 2, 3, 4. It's just 4 sets of 5. 1, 2, 3. Drawing the belly button in. 2 more sets of 5 to go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 to go. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you're done. Okay, keep up the pace. Now we've got 20 incline pull-ups or your posture burpee variation. 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4. Just 10 to go. 1. Coming up a little bit higher if you're finding it too difficult or your form is compromised. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Time. Woo, 2 minutes and 7 seconds. Just beat last week's score. So if you stayed with me, that meant you had a little improvement over last week. Well done. Okay, let's go into a little bit of a cool down. And we'll go into a 90 degree. So hand at 90 degree up against the wall. Lean into the wall, getting a nice chest stretch. Option here, if you find any pinching in the shoulders whatsoever, is to drop the hand a little bit lower and do a low chest stretch. So keep the shoulder, or sorry, the arm below shoulder level. Your choice, whatever feels most comfortable as we get that heart rate down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Take it to the other side. Again, either a 90 degree or a low hand chest stretch. I prefer the 90 degree, but my shoulders are healthy. I don't have any problems in them. Hold 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're going to use the TRX for a little bit of a stretch. So what I want you to do is to walk back until the hands are in front of the body, and then I want you to push the hips back and drop the chest into the ground. So that's kind of a variation, and I'm letting my weight, my hips are pulling me backwards. I'm not completely letting my shoulders come out of their sockets, of course. I've still got a little bit of traction there, but I should feel I'm using a little bit of gravity to give me a stretch underneath the shoulder blades. So this is a variation of your cat stretch from the ground, which you can also do instead of this one. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and come back up. And let's go down onto the ground, and we'll do our little quad stretch like we did at the beginning. So shift those hips forward, drive the hips. So no lifting this time, just find a good position, getting a nice stretch in that hip flexor, holding 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now what I want you to actively do, your toes should be tucked under, so my shoelaces are down. And I want you to actively push the shoelace into the ground. And what that will do is it will effectively increase the stretch in the hip flexor. So 5 seconds, push actively that shoelace into the ground. 3, 2, 1. Switch over to the other side. So first establish a comfortable position. If you're not feeling a stretch in the back hip flexor, Double check, make sure this knee is not in front of that toe. You may need to shift this front foot forward. If you do feel a stretch, great, hold it there. If you don't, play around with either moving that front foot forward, moving back knee back, actively pushing the back knee into the ground. Okay, so just like we did on the other side now, I want you to push those shoelaces into the ground. So it's almost as if you're trying to straighten that back leg, but you're not quite lifting the knee off the ground. And that should give you a really nice pull in through the back hip flexor, a little bit into the quad. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and release. And I'd like you to put your back up against the wall, going into a bit of a figure 4 stretch. So knee at about 90 degrees. Reach towards that extended leg and holding 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, another 5 seconds. So just like the warm-up, these stretches are a little shorter than I would ideally like you to be doing. So please, if you have the time, check out some of the other videos. There's some longer upper and lower body stretch videos. Please take the time to do that. Switch over to the other side. Knees crossed in, drop the leg. Reach forward and hold. So sometimes I like to play around with actively pushing this knee down, just using the muscles through this leg, and that gives me a little bit deeper stretch in the QL. Some of you are going to be much more tight in the hamstring, and that's going to be the predominant area where you feel the stretch, and that's fine too. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And last but not least, let's finish off with a glute stretch. So let's get your bum nice and close to the wall, not too close. Maybe start with about a foot and push your hips up, cross the ankle over top of the knee. At this point, when you relax, your hips should drop right down on the ground. So if they're not, and your hips are way up here, you need to shift your body backwards. If you don't feel a stretch, you need to shimmy your body forwards. Double check, are your hips square? Okay, so you don't want to be having this knee on so much of a stretch that the knee angles. So if your hips are not square, again, you have to shift back just a little bit. And holding 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Please feel free to press pause on any of these and hold the stretch a little bit longer. Ideally, we should be holding these stretches for at least a minute. But the idea here is to give you some things that you can do and you don't have the excuse of being too busy. And holding for another 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And release. And slowly get out. And look forward to seeing you next week for our HIIT 3.3. Thanks so much, and we'll talk to you soon.